Alright, so this is video 106. We are going to still add rational numbers. Yesterday we did fractions, and I know those are a lot tougher, and eventually I'll show you guys how to use a fraction calculator, but I wanted you to practice doing those. So today we're going to deal with decimals. So we still use the integer rules. So if we're looking at the very first one, negative 4.05 plus 7.62, I always look and see, do they have the same sign or different? This one they have different, so I know I'm going to end up subtracting. And I know that there's more positive, so I know my final answer should be a positive. Now I like to stack my numbers. So if I rewrote this 7.62 and negative 4.05, you notice how if you only see one negative, it looks like a subtraction problem. So that makes it kind of easy. So when I subtract this, I end up with 3.57. So you had to do some borrowing and stuff like that. And since there are more positives, it is positive. So over here, the 15.3 is bigger than the negative 12.5. Subtract negative 2.8. Now, is that correct? There are not. It should be a positive 2.8. Now, why is it positive? Because there's more positive numbers. So be careful on that. Alright, so on this one, I notice I have two negatives, so I'm going to add and keep the negative sign. But I'm going to stack it. 8.15 is bigger. And then the 4.3. Now, do you notice how I added a 0 right here? That was just to make it so they line up nice and easy. You don't have to. It's up to you. So again, two negatives mean we're going to add. So I'm going to add these up. 5, 4, 12. Decimal comes straight down. And since they were both negatives, you keep the negative sign. So it's negative 12.45. So that's pretty much it with decimals. Make sure you line your decimals up. Make sure you put the bigger one on top. If you have to add zeros, you can, and then use the integer rules. Now, word problem. So the table shows the annual profits in millions of dollars of an online gaming company from 2013 to 2017. Positive numbers represent gains, negative numbers represent losses. So which statement describes the profit over the last 5 years? So did they gain? These two are gains and these two are losses. So we got to figure out which one it is. So here's all of them we have over here. So we have it like this. Now, if you notice, you see the negative 1.7 and positive 1.7? Those cancel each other out. So they used the commutative property to move it, and then they zeroed it out. So now we've got these three. So what you could do is add the positives up. So you can use the associative property by using parentheses. Add those up, and we end up with 4, and we have a negative 4.75. So when I subtract those, you end up with negative 0.75. Now you want to be careful because that negative 0.75 is millions of dollars. So let's go back here. So the 5-year profit is negative 0.75 million. So the company has a 5-year loss of 0.75 million, or if you change that to an actual number, 750,000. So that's why it's the letter D. So we knew it was a loss because they're more negative total than positives. And you just had to change it to the correct 0.75 million. Move that decimal 6 places, and you get your answer. Alright, this is a review from yesterday, so go ahead and try this one. Common denominator of 10 and 5 would be 10. So multiplied by 2, both of these. So we get 2/10. Now, you notice there's a negative and a positive. Since they're opposite sign or different signs, you subtract. So -7 plus 2 is -5 over 10. Now we have to simplify this. What can we take out of both of those? A 5. So we end up with -1/2. Alright, -3/4 plus -1/3. Common denominator for 4 and 3. It's not 4, it's not 3, 12. So 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 4 is 12. So when we multiply all this out, we get -9/12 and -4/12. So -9 plus -4, since they're both the same sign, you add and keep. So we end up with -13 over 12, which is -1 and 1/12 when you change it to a mixed number. All right, last one, decimals. So this is what we learned today. First thing you do, stack them. Line those decimals up. Put the bigger absolute value on top. So 4.3 on top, -2.6 on bottom. Decimals are lined up. Different signs, you got to subtract. So on this one, you would have to borrow. So that 4 would become a 3, and the 3 become a 13. So when you subtract, you end up with 1.7. And there's more positives, so it'd be a positive 1.7. Alright, you can go ahead and start on your homework or watch the other videos.